Hello. What are you all doing in this box again this morning? I hope you will all be happy to hear that the Portland Pickles won last night. I went to a baseball game for the first time in 55 years. Went with a friend, and it was the bottom of the ninth. The other team was leading 1-0. There were two men on base, and someone hit a home run. It was a home team delight, and the tribal identification with one side or the other was manifest hugely. It was really quite something to watch. The tribal response was certainly as interesting as the game. So we come together to wake up, to notice our humanity with all its remarkable capacities. One more thing to do here. Turn on this special light, which then makes my face clearer, I think. So I have a lovely poem for us this morning. It's a poem I very often use on retreats, maybe day 2 or so of a retreat. It's from Lao Tzu. So that means it was either created by a person named Lao Tzu, or it was created by a collection of wisdom from the wise elders. It's from the Hua Hu Ching. I know this is one of Jim's books full of goodness too. This is the nature of the unenlightened mind. The sense organs, which are limited in scope and ability, randomly gather information. This partial information is arranged into judgments, which are based on previous judgments, which are usually based on someone else's foolish ideas. These false concepts and ideas are then stored in a highly selective memory system. Distortion upon distortion, the mental energy flows constantly through contorted and inappropriate channels. And the more one uses the mind, the more confused one becomes. To eliminate this vexation of the mind, it doesn't help to do something. To do something only reinforces the mind's mechanics. Dissolving the mind is instead a matter of not doing. Simply avoid becoming attached to what you see and think. Relinquish the notion that you are separated from the all-knowing mind of the universe. Then you can recover your original pure insight and see through all illusions. Knowing nothing, you will be aware of everything. Remember, because clarity and awakening are within your own nature, they are regained without ever moving an inch. Is that not an elegant description? To eliminate this vexation of the mind, it doesn't help to do something. This only reinforces the mind's mechanics. Dissolving the mind is instead a matter of not doing. Simply avoid becoming attached to what you see and think. Relinquish the notion that you are separated from the all-knowing mind of the universe. Then you can recover your original pure insight and see through all illusions, knowing nothing. You will be aware of everything. Remember, because clarity and awakening are within your own nature, they are regained without ever moving an inch. I just realized in this reading, one of these lines became much clearer. Knowing nothing, you will be aware of everything. I used to hit that line, and I just realized in this last minute, somehow or another, I created a concept. Being aware of everything meant that I would be aware of everything happening everywhere. And I don't think that's what's meant. I think it's you'll be aware of what's happening here. It's kind of a relief. Don't have to have superpowers, just be awake. And we can be supported in our practice with the refuges. The refuge in being awake now, the Buddha. The refuge in what we discover now. And the refuge of each other and the lineage, the community of which we are part, the community of all life. And we have sounds, these strings which are tuned to be rather harmonious with each other. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So, dear friends, let's do the ancient practice of sitting and really doing next to nothing. Of really being naturalists. Scientists. What's going on? What is it that makes this human being that makes up this human being right now? It's alive. There is life. In fact, in our experience of the body, there is nothing but life. And so we come into direct contact. Awareness and the life in the hands, for instance. Awareness and the life where the body makes contact with the chair. Awareness meets, co-arises with the life of the face. This moment is like this. And there may well be activity in the mind, in the thinking, The poem put it like this: this is the nature of the unenlightened mind. The sense organs, which are limited in scope and ability, randomly gather information. This partial information is arranged into judgments, which are based on previous judgments, which are usually based on someone else's foolish ideas. These false concepts and ideas are then stored in a highly selective memory system. Distortion upon distortion, the mental energy flows constantly through contorted and inappropriate channels. And the more one uses the mind, the more confused one becomes. And so mindfulness awakens in the middle of a wandering mind. And knows it to be mind, knows it to be thinking. And so we come home to now, to this in-breathing right now. There is absolutely nothing fancy about this. It's the height of the ordinary. This breath in, this breath out. mindfulness awakens and notices. It's the beginning of a breath. The chest and abdomen begin their journey to fullness. There are sensations at the nostrils. There is rising and falling of the chest and abdomen. The breath breathes itself. You may have at some point or another in this lifetime sat and watched another person breathe. This is the same. Noticing the breath breathing itself. With the collaboration between mindfulness, curiosity, and concentration, the difference between a moment when mindfulness is present and a moment when it's not becomes very apparent. This could be a moment when the mind is very quiet. a clear sky with occasional fluffy clouds. Or this could be a moment when the 5 great energies of the hindrances are present. The mind is wanting something or not wanting something. It could be a moment of restlessness, agitation, worry, or sleepy dullness, sloth and torpor. Or doubt. If these are present, they're not a mistake. They're not a failure. They're just the weather of the moment. And so, time and again, there is awakening to these 5 great energies. Also, awakening to the mood. What is the mood at this moment? Mood colors everything in perception. Let each breath be an invitation to be alive, to fully incarnate. Sometimes the experience of being is very pleasant. The circumstances are such that the sense doors, including the mind, are filled with pleasing experience. A calm, quiet, concentrated mind is one of these moments. Other times life has thrown us a curve. There may be uproar, or somewhere in between peaceful calmness and uproar. This is not a mistake. It's not a bad meditation. It's really just uproar. This moment is like this. The mind may wander for minutes at a time, sometimes even in our lives for days, maybe weeks. But as we practice, there also are times when the mind wanders for a tenth of a second or less. Awareness notices the weakening of concentration on the breath and the turning of the mind toward some thought, memory, plan, desire, disliking. What is it that we actually have? This moment. The future is not yet, and may be very different than we imagine. The past, even a second ago, is gone, over, finished. And so we have what is at the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the feeling body, and the mind in each moment. let us really recognize that the past is over. It then becomes possible to say something like, recognizing the unskillfulness, the harmfulness of some of the things I did in the past. Having learned from them, I forgive myself for being so humanly imperfect. I relinquish any need to punish myself. I learned. I grew. I woke up. Never again would I do that thing that caused so much harm. I forgive myself. I relinquish. I let go of that rope of self-criticism and self-hatred. I forgive myself and allow myself to settle more fully in this present moment. So, since I don't have to carry that bag with me, that bag of how I was inadequate, how greed, hatred, and ignorance acted out through me. Ignorance. So in my practice, which means all the time, I relinquish self-hatred. Whenever I find this mind comparing myself with someone else's self, recognizing that this creates one up and one down, I let go of this comparing business. This moment is like this. This personality that I call mine is like this. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. Where there is strife, may there be peace. Where there is greed, may there be generosity. Where there is fear, may there be ease. Where there is hatred, may there be love. a little over 50 years ago. 50 years and 10 months ago. I landed in the town of Peshawar city, which when you come down off the Khyber Pass in eastern Afghanistan, that's the start of the railroad. The British really built quite a railroad system. And I got on a train from Peshawar to Delhi. No, that couldn't be right. I got on a train from Peshawar to Lahore because the border was closed. Shortest commercial flight I ever was on. We sat on the runway. They gave us a Coke. They took the glasses back. We took off, turned, and landed in Amritsar, remembering. But that's not the point of what I wanted to share this morning. On the train, I met a woman, an American woman, who was going to India to meditate. And we had a big argument. I told her very helpfully that it was really stupid to go to India to meditate because there would be so much to see and do. I mean, and it's true. India's an astounding place. It blows one's mind. And she held her own. I didn't convince her that her plans were stupid. And then we went to Chandigarh, my girlfriend and I traveling together, girlfriend of some years. We'd lived for a couple of years in Europe together. And then she told me, bless her heart, her name is Liz Nickel. We still connect, not so frequently, but it's always wonderful. She decided that she needed to have a life of her own and when we got home, was not going to marry me and live happily ever after. She was going to leave, which totally freaked me out. And so we continued on our journey. We spent 2 or 3 weeks up in Manali in the mountains. In Delhi, we also went to the Taj Mahal in Agra. All the while, I was in so much pain, freaked out. Pain that was to repeat itself when my first wife divorced me too. Really part of the big lesson of this lifetime. Anyway, it was 1971 and everything was available. Marijuana was everywhere. In fact, in Manali, you could go behind the tourist office and take the marijuana plants and rub them. And then you had a resin on your hand and you'd just turn your hand like this and then you'd have hashish, resiny hashish. There were fields and fields of it. Anyway, I stayed stoned for several months. And why? Well, we went trekking. We went way behind Annapurna. We also went into Annapurna Base Camp. We went over a pass that we shouldn't have gone over, actually, though we were competent mountaineers. But to get to the point, I was in agony, freaked out, didn't know what to do. In the trekking, I tried to invent meditation. I started trying to remember when I was hitchhiking out of Sydney, Australia, going north. What was the first ride? Oh, right, it was that guy in the semi-trailer. And then what was the next one? So I'm trying to create a concentration meditation on my own. It helped a little. Anyway, back to the point. In a hotel in Kathmandu, after trekking, there was that woman, which isn't uncommon when one is traveling in that way at that socioeconomic level. One runs into other travelers. There's kind of like a stream. Anyway, she had this look about her, this way of being about her, that was similar to several other young people I had met. I'd say, well, what have you been doing? And they'd say, well, I've been doing this meditation. And there was something about them. And she was very kind with me. Bless her heart. Bless her heart. And anyway, she said the same thing she had on the train, but by this point I had been softened up. And I heard her somehow. And it was from there that I sent in by mail my application to participate in the next retreat. And then we went there, and then my life changed. But I'm so grateful to her. And also, that same process of diving in has continued my whole life. It still does. I forget the importance. And then life comes along and says, I think you better pay attention here. I think it's time to really get the precepts a little more functional, a little more polished. I really am grateful to her. I don't know her name. I can't remember her face either. Of course, yeah, I don't remember. It's a long time. If she's alive, which is possible, may she really benefit from her practice all these years. There was another woman who was managing the retreat in Bodh Gaya. On the third day, I got so sick of it and so freaked out and so on, I decided to leave. And I went to her and I said I wanted my money back. It was $1 a day. I wanted my money back. And she said, I'll give it to you, but you might as well wait till tomorrow morning, because there's no train till noon out of Gaya, and you'll need a place to stay tonight. And it was that night that the teacher's name was Goenkaji. He gave a talk that went to my core, and somehow or another the mind stopped. Not some transcendental experience, but the experience of actually just being alive in the present moment. So I never got my money back. I did bump into her a couple of years later in Paris, of all things, where I got to thank her. Brilliant move. So, Jim, are there any announcements that we should make?
Good question. There seems to be a confusion in my mind about whether I'm doing a Qigong retreat this month. So, since I'm speaking from a state of confusion, I'll stop.
That's brilliant. Wow, Jim. What a mature spiritual position.
In a day or so, I will have something to say about the July retreat in Qigong.
Okay, thank you. So, dear friends, what have you might like to share?
I'd like to go back to your reading from Lao Tzu. I don't remember precisely, but on one of the retreats that I was on early in our years together, you read that Lao Tzu quotation, and I thought that was really good advice that I should give to all my loved ones. It never occurred to me that it applied to me. That took about 3 or 4 more retreats.
I resemble that remark. I might as well just ask you right here, Kat, what is the status of our questionnaire at this point? I talked about it yesterday in the group.
It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. We've had everybody on the team go for it and check it. Okay.
Well, that I don't know. But from my perspective,
You're ready. You're ready to launch.
from everyone who's responded, it's good. I don't think everyone in the group has responded.
Okay.
But
All right. So be braced, everyone. You're going to receive a wonderful email, incredibly crafted, about some very important information about PIMC and our future.
am I writing that email?
Are you what?
Am I writing that email?
It's interesting how you can speak without moving your lips.
I have a background in ventriloquism.
I see. You, really?
Huh?
Why?
I don't have a background in it. It is my hobby. It is my hobby to do ventriloquism. Yes, it is actually. I talk to socks a lot.
You don't have to write that email. You have done the incredible work of creating it. So,
Well, when you said incredibly crafted, I assumed you were talking about me.
no, I'm talking about the questionnaire. It's a very, I think it's beautiful. So, thank
Well,
you.
and
Kat.
also briefly, since I brought it up last week, asking the group to send some energy. This is not the one I was talking about. The energy you sent got me something a little bigger.
Oh
But
my
this
God!
is Rosie. Rosie,
Wow.
hi. Say hi. Can you say hi? Her name is Rose Petal, which the 6-year-old came up with.
I see. How old is she?
About 1.5 years. Maybe 2.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing
Nice.
1.5 years. That's my new girl.
Rose petal. Nice. Anybody have anything to share?
Good
Hi.
morning, Robert. It's Karen. Oh, you fast.
Oh, go ahead, Carol.
Where'd you go?
Oh,
Wave,
no,
would
you go ahead.
Oh, it's Joy. Hi.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. I just wanted to say, yesterday I decided to pay attention to any imaginary stories that I created around people I know and situations I come into. And it was quite astounding how often something happened. Like my friend took a wrong turn on our trip home from the lake, and I imagined to myself was that a passive aggressive act to tell me that she resents driving me to the lake and back? Like totally, a total fabrication. Anyway, I noticed how many stories I make up during the day about things that happen, and also how mean they often are, and wonder if what I could eventually become a more compassionate person and just say, "Oh, she took a wrong turn. Oh well."
Beautiful observation.
Well,
Really?
it's quite kind of unsettling.
Yeah. Some people say that meditation is one insult to the ego after another. All right. I'm really a nice person. I never have bad thoughts, and how come she's being so passive aggressive and blah 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 blah.
I know.
And
I know.
and of course, the compassion begins right there for yourself.
I hope so.
Here's the conditioned mind. It's presenting an unskillful neurotic pattern. How shall I respond to it? You could respond with self-hatred, and that would really be great. Or you could say something like, human again.
But I thought I was more perfect.
Me too. It's disappointing to discover how human one is. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You have a way of being really beautifully vulnerable.
Me? Oh.
Yeah, and it's very helpful. It's a gift.
Oh, thank you. I just thought I might as well tell the truth here. Instead of fabricating a fabulous persona, which is also possible, but it's like a 12-step program, like I love 12-step programs because they're so rock bottom honest.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay.
But what's okay?
To be totally honest and truthful.
I think it's a very high aspiration. And of course, we need to choose our environments and when it's safe and when it would be harmful to somebody or oneself.
Yeah.
But the more honest we can be, the better. I mean, it makes reality more predictable. We don't have to remember what I've told this person or that person. It's just, you only have one story.
Actually, truth simplifies, has an amazing simplicity to it. I discovered. Anyway, if I ever say anything inappropriate, I'm sure you'll have a nice Buddhist way of pointing it out.
Like, that was bad, Joy. You should be punished.
Like, shut up already. Anyway, thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to echo that. It's a way that I've ended retreats for decades, which is, if I say or do anything which is misleading, would guide anybody astray, please just forget it. And if I say anything that you experience as hurtful to you, communicate with me. Tell me. I have a shadow. I'm not always 100%.
Hi, it's Carol again.
Hello, Carol again.
Hello. Joy, I actually had something that I wanted to read that was related to what you expressed and had concern about the other day in relation to the vandalizing that had happened on Canada Day in Victoria. And it's just something that's, I think, been on a lot of our minds, especially here in Canada. And I think that it's a time of the world where there's a lot of challenges, but it's also a time where there's a lot of awareness and awakening happening. And this was about a church that had been spray painted red. And it was the words of the pastor of the church after that happened. And I found that it helped to give me some sense of balance about the situation and just more understanding. So I wanted to read that to you. It says
Thank
that
you.
on Canada Day, red paint was splashed on the front door to draw attention to the agony that Indigenous people in Canada are feeling with the discovery of hundreds of their children's bodies buried on the grounds of residential schools. The church has decided to leave the red paint there for now. And these are the words of their pastor. Sure, we can be upset over red paint, but we can also be upset and grieve and lament what that red paint stands for and listen to that voice and be present with that voice. I've read that this is being investigated as a hate crime. No humans are being targeted here. I have seen no threats to the well-being of pastors or parishioners. No one is crying for people of a certain race or nationality or religion to be harmed. No false or slanderous information intended to promote hatred is being bandied about. It is red paint, symbolizing the blood of Indigenous children. I see no hate here. I see a demand for accountability. And so I thought that was words from a very enlightened pastor. And that just felt those words were valuable to me in the bigger perspective of things.
Carol, would you send that to me?
Yes, I can do that.
Robert@robertbeatty.com. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it on my blog,
Okay.
which is robertbeatty.com. Find a blog. That's really beautiful.
That's what I thought. Very, very helpful. At a time when there's so many challenging feelings about how to deal with everything that's going on around us. So yes, I will. Thanks for listening.
Also, if there's a reference of where it is, that'd be helpful. I'd like to write that guy. What beautiful leadership of his community.
True.
Well, shall we head off into our day? I feel very nourished, comfortable, grateful. Thank you for making the effort to be here today. May all beings be strengthened by our practice. May we all learn to see red paint as red paint. We had some graffiti on the doors at BIMC once, a couple of times. Once was just some little girls from down the street. But once required painting the doors. The fellow was sort of psychotic. We had video of him doing it. We also had this is years ago now, 4 guys screaming and threatening. They actually came into the front door. We found out later on the video. We hadn't noticed that. But when I called the police, they said, "Oh, is it these?" And he described them. And he said, "There's nothing we can do. They're going from one religious place to another and telling everyone that they're going to hell." And one of them was particularly enraged. It was quite wild. But the policeman said, if they don't come on your property, there's nothing we can do. So we all just went back inside and did our morning of meditation, and they went away. Strange, isn't it? Strange, aren't we? So let's close with Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam in honor of Ruth Dennison. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sonorous.
Indeed.
Thank you, Francine.
Love you,
Goodbye,
Ad.
dear friends.
Thank you all.
Bye, y'all.
Hi.
Goodbye, Tamara.
Bye, Tamara.
And Neil and James.
Bye, Kat.
Dad, and they're all flashing around the screen. Bye, Kat. See you soon. Prepare for the leap to hyperspace.
3, 2, 1.
Well, good friends on Facebook and YouTube, it looks like it worked. I should check it someday, maybe today. Thanks for being here.